In this video, we're going to go over some basic maintenance tips for your septic system. The typical septic system, you will see two riser lids, and we always put riser lids on our tanks. That way you can identify where those are at, and they don't need to be dug up when it comes time to pump those out. Typically, you'll see two chambers somewhere in your yard. One riser lid basically for solid waste, and the other for liquid. Basically, those need to be on and sealed at all times. You never really want to pull those screws out of there as you might get sewer gas up through those areas. If you were to come out into the yard area and smell any sewer gas, make sure you give somebody a call, mainly the septic company or AVB, to check those and make sure those are properly sealed at all times. Maintenance on these, you want to make sure that they're pumped out about every 3 years, and it really all depends on usage and how many people are in the home, but every 3 years is a pretty safe time frame for that. Occasionally, you may see a third riser lid with a outlet and a couple plugs plugged into that. In some cases, you may need a pump to pump the liquid up to a field that's higher than the actual tanks themselves. That would all be reviewed with you at home orientation. That way you're clear on how that all operates. But however, you may see one, and that's plugged into a GFCI, and you want to make sure that that doesn't trip out. That would be a system that had to be checked weekly to make sure that it's operational and working properly. The third riser that you would typically see on the system would be a 4-inch pipe with a white cap on it that is removable. Once that cap is removed, you'll actually see a box valve in there, and it's labeled 1 and 2. So on this field, basically you have two fields coming off of this. So all of your waste comes into this valve right here and then branches off this way, two separate fields. This alternating valve basically switches between the two fields. The premise behind that basically is to switch every year, once a year. That way you can let one field dry out while you're using the other one. There's no maintenance to that whatsoever besides switching that field once a year, and you want to make sure you set a timer so that is done so you don't overwhelm one of the fields. Typically what they'll do is they leave a piece of rebar with a hook end on it. It's like a U shape. Basically that slips right around the switch, and you just turn that valve side to side. And it can only turn in one direction so you don't get confused as to which one you're at in that year. On the interior, you can kind of put Rid-X in your system if you'd like, any kind of enzyme product. They sell many different types. It does help break down the matter in those tanks and things like that for a healthy system, which you can add once a month. Everything else, you want to make sure that you call a qualified contractor to have those pumped out, like I said, every 3 years, or any maintenance that you may need done on the system.